Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to John and Heather. I don't know what we're going to call this, Heather, but I think we're still in the process of finessing this, but we do know it's just say yes. So happy to have you, Heather. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And we're starting a little bit earlier because we heard some feedback that people wanted to get energized. The 9 o'clock start, sometimes they're already in meetings. So we thought, let's catch them just before they start their work day. Let's get energized. Let's get going. And in fact, I love the topic that we decided to talk about today, which is energy. Where do you get it from? Where do you lose it? And how do you just gain more of it? So I think that's a good place to start. So, I'd love to share.
Yeah, go ahead.
For everybody here, John was actually up at my place on when do we do this? Monday, yes. And we had a whole work day together because we just saw the power of this topic of saying yes and all of the branches. So we want to continue this conversation. And I was so energized. We had flip charts all over the place. We had brainstorming happening. And I was just like, I'm still on fire from that collaboration. So thank you, John. I think that was amazing. And I can't wait to see what we do with it.
You're welcome. And you know what? The one thing I've learned to do this week actually was a post that I saw around receiving compliments. So thank you. You're welcome. When you say yes to things like that, when you just say yes to things that you don't even know are going to happen, it puts you into a place of uncertainty. So from a psychological needs perspective, right? You have certainty, uncertainty, you have I was just looking at this last night. Anyways, those are two of the six that are out there. And what happens when you go into an uncertain state, you actually open up possibilities for yourself. And it was interesting. Before we got onto this call, I was telling Heather, I did a little bit of research on the power you get from saying yes. And it actually led me down a path where I got into an article on Psychology Today and read about the power of saying yes. And the gentleman who wrote the article based it on the true life story of this guy named Danny. And Danny is who the movie I talked about last week, Yes Man, is based off of. And what ends up happening is when you say yes to things, it does give you energy, 100%. So one of the things they talked about in Psychology Today was when you say yes, it actually puts you into a positive state so you can move forward, and it helps with your energy. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. And energy comes from being open to possibilities, being open to opportunities, being open to whatever is in front of you. And it's amazing what happens. And Heather, before we got onto this call, you were telling me a story about somebody who decided to say yes to a challenge of posting more regularly on social. So share that with us.
Yeah, I'd love to share that. And just, we talked about this last week, but I think it's important that our brain is actually sometimes the driver of our buses or our cars of life. And it's trying to keep us safe, or it's trying to find reasons why we shouldn't do things. And when you change the thought process and the words that you're using, you can actually have the energy and the momentum to make it happen. So in this story, I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and just he's on a path of career development, and I asked him about what he wants to be of service to in the world. And, he gave me some really good answers. And then it led into, well, could you do that on a LinkedIn platform, on social media? And he wasn't posting anything. And in fact, he was sharing a great article that he had found for me to share. And my answer to him was, you share it, and then I'll share your share. Like, that's how this reciprocation happens. And for like 10 seconds, I could see his face. I could see that little gremlin in his head say something. And then these words came out of his mouth. And this is really, really powerful. He looked at me, and it was on video, and he said, challenge accepted. And immediately, every reason why he couldn't do it or hasn't done it did not exist. It was challenge accepted. And he said, listen, I'm borrowing this from my Apple Watch. It tells me, do this. And I say challenge accepted. So, what in your life, what in your activities today can you say challenge accepted and just move forward? That's one of the powerful brain hacks that you can do to get language around action.
Yeah. No, and I love it. Challenge. It's the same thing my spin instructor asked me this morning. So, what are you going to accept today? What are you willing to put in? One of the things that is a non-negotiable for me, and it's just something I've incorporated into my own personal life, is just getting some exercise in every day. And the one thing I found with all of that and leading back to energy, it actually helps me boost my energy. I actually did a little TikTok right after my spin class, and I'm all sweaty and I look horrible. But who cares? I'm going to get on social. I'm going to share those things with everybody because my goal, based on what I learned from you, right? Impact 5 people every day. We get the opportunity to impact people through our words, through our actions, through things that we do. And one of the ways I get to do that is through social, through TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, you name it. Here we are. We're on this call every day, and we are sharing what we're learning and really understanding how yes is really impacting our lives. And actually, I'm gonna show something that's here. We got a gentleman from Singapore. Good morning, Suresh.
Good morning.
This is awesome. Man, I didn't realize our reach was actually going out that far. That was really cool. So thank you, Suresh, for jumping in, and good morning. Love to have you here. But we're talking about energy and really, accepting those challenges, using those words and languages. The words really impact how we move forward. And what was interesting in that article in Psychology Today is when you say yes, you're really opening yourself up. Right. So Heather, what's the one thing that you've actually in the last week, right? We don't have to go back 10 years, but in the last week, what's the one thing you said yes to that's really opened you up or opened up your perspective?
I think just, we had a little tiny idea, the two of us, which is why don't we share our coffee chats and do it live streaming? And we really didn't have a formula or the how worked out. And we just said, let's see what comes up. And then we started, the ball was rolling, and we're seeing how much information is out there, how much we can share with our audience, how much I'm learning as I read these articles. And it's just been fantastic to see that taking one baby step then opens up the opportunity for the next and the next. And then you've been texting me at all hours of the night, like, okay, then we're going to do an ebook, and then we're going to do this. So the ideas are getting generated from one action. And then it was the next action, the next action. So I think that's the other key element in here is don't fuss about how it's going to look or how it's going to happen. Just take one step, say challenge accepted, and move forward with that one thing. And then you'll know, is this the route that we want to go, or is there another route that we want to go? And like I found myself now in all kinds of articles, about saying yes, articles about energy, articles about what holds us back from saying yes. And actually, John, you asked me a question last week that I fumbled with, and then it sat with me. So I've been journaling about it, which was, what's something that I've said yes to that, was life-changing, or, I didn't do it. I didn't know. I forget what the question was, but that was the essence of it. And I thought to myself, the times that I've said yes without hesitation to really big things, that I've never regretted them. Never have I regretted those decisions. And some of those have been some big trips that I've taken. So I actually, 2 years ago, went to Bhutan. Well, I guess it's 3 years now. And I saw Tiger's Nest, and, just Google Tiger's Nest, and you'll see this is a beautiful, beautiful temple in Bhutan. But I said yes because in my past, when I was like a little 6-year-old, my dad had National Geographic magazines, and that was on the cover. And I didn't know this was a real place. And so when I saw that it was a real place and that a friend of mine was doing a travel excursion there, I just said yes. There was no hesitation. It was just a yes. It was made in the moment. And like, you don't regret those decisions, but I do regret when I sit on decisions and just ruminate on them and steal my energy. When we sit on decisions, it's energy draining. It's depleting. So thank you for that question, because I've been thinking about it lots, and I've got lots of examples now, but that was one that I thought I would share.
Sorry, a quick shout out to Christopher. He's loving what we're doing. So thank you, Christopher, for showing us some love. And for being a part of these conversations as well. Like, this is yours. Like, this conversation is for all of you that are out there listening. I know we got a couple of people on LinkedIn listening in and watching. And the truth is, we do this for you, right? Like, the one thing we talked about earlier, I think it was this week or last week, I forget which day, because we've been on so many of these calls already, but it's really around service to others. And that's one of the things that we're incredibly passionate about. And when we say yes to serving others, things open up, opportunities open up. It just creates a different world. Like, you start to see things differently. And it's interesting that you talked about your tiger's nest, and I love that story because it's almost like our parents set the path for us, or things that have happened in the past give us the opportunity to say things in the future. So, you saw the tiger nest in a National Geographic magazine. It's like, is that even a real place? And then you have the opportunity, and it's like, yes, I'm going to go. I almost swore there. That's really bad. Shouldn't do that. We need like that 5-second blipper thing. But when you say yes, and what psychology today says as well is it actually creates a sense of passion, right? Like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but we're passionate about what we're talking about. Like, it's 8:50 in the morning, and here we are, before, like, I haven't even had my coffee yet. I usually don't have it for a couple of hours, into my day. And, like, we're energized. Like, look at the energy that's coming from this conversation. And it's kind of crazy. Like, don't you want to live like that? Like, personally, I do. And it's amazing what we're gonna share with this community in the next few weeks. You kind of hinted, and you let it out of the bag, I think, but ebook.
That's okay. I think the more we talk about it, the more people will actually share their stories, because what I'd love to do is curate other people's stories as well as our own around what saying yes has led them to. And especially the stories where, you said yes to something that looked really small, but cascaded into something way bigger than you ever believed possible in your life or in a relationship or in your career. And those stories, they just energize me and remind me that, everyone started somewhere. Everyone, you see athletes, you see, superstars, you see people that have crafted their careers in a certain way. And there's always that first speech that they did. There's always that first presentation that they did. There's always that first game that they won or lost. And we often forget that it's a journey of life, and learning from other people's journeys. It energizes me, but it also reminds me that they said yes to things that were important to them. And that's what led them down that path.
Yeah, I've always wondered, because as you're saying that, what's showing up for me is the Michael Jordan. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Michael Jordan, but in high school, he was kicked off the basketball team, right?
Right.
He was kicked off. One of the greatest, depending on if you're a basketball fan, I'm not out here to offend anybody, but from my perspective, or at least what I've learned about Michael Jordan, and there's a great series on Netflix about Michael Jordan and how he pushed his team to essentially to say yes to winning championships and putting them into that mindset. I think it was 5 championships that they won. If I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm just going off the top of my head here. But he continued to say yes. You know what? Yes to basketball. I want to continue down this path. And the summer that he got kicked off the team, all he did that summer was practice. And he said yes to practice every day. He said yes to getting up. He said yes to throwing free throws. And, the rest of the story is history at this point. But one of the greatest players of all time saying yes to a passion, to something that he loved, and he didn't give up. And just imagine what life would look like if you continued down a path of stuff that you love to do.
And it's not just in sports, right? Like I've actually been reading the stories have been popping up. The developer of Canva, went to hundreds of VC for investments and got turned down so many times. And now it's, I don't know how many $billion company. It's huge. And why? Because templates were in PowerPoint. We weren't, the world wasn't ready. It was ready, but the investors weren't ready to put the money in templating. And now, who uses PowerPoint? I don't know. Right? So and I read this story because it was a woman that designed it, and she got no after no after no, but that didn't stop her from saying yes, taking action and following her dream. And so even in the face of adversity, there's going to be people that will try to hold you back. They'll try to keep you safe. And sometimes it's like the people that love us the most. And your job is to just be really crystal clear on the actions that you want to take to move your life forward. It's a pretty simple formula. Not easy in execution, but a pretty simple formula.
Yeah, no, it is pretty straightforward. And it comes back to energy, right? Like when you're saying yes, you're elevating your energy, you're elevating yourself, you're empowering yourself to continue to move forward. And it's amazing what happens when you have that level of energy. For just for those that are listening right now, from a scale of 1 to 10, where's your energy at? Are you like 10 is like, oh man, I'm off the scale, or 1 is like, man, why did I even get up this morning? I need my coffee before I get going. Drop it in the chat. I'd love to know, because energy. So here's the thing I know, and this is the one thing I've been researching this week as well, right? Is when you have energy, it's a lot easier to say yes.
That's right.
Right. So if you're low on energy, not only saying yes, but also things critical to, oh, Christopher, 8, awesome, love it. Thank you, Christopher. Woo-hoo. High five for you, buddy. When your energy is low, it's hard to make life-changing decisions, right? But saying that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add in, there's life hacks that are available to us anytime to boost up our happy brain chemicals, right? So, if you want to increase your dopamine, try something new. If you want to increase your serotonin, get outside for some sunlight. If you want to increase your oxytocin, send a love note to someone or give someone a hug. And there's just, these are really simple exercises. In fact, I saw a post, I'm going to share it after this, just how to hack your brain for having more happy chemicals. But if you're at a 6 right now for energy, getting up and dancing for literally 30 seconds can get you to a 7 and an 8. And this morning, right, John, you were a little worried about me getting up this early because I'm more of a night owl. I've turned into a night owl, and I'm not so much in the morning. So I knew this morning to get the energy up, I had to have my physiotherapy done. I had to already have been moving around, and I had my coffee ready. So, I took those 3 yeses and said, yes, I'm going to do 8:40. Yes, I'm going to have my physio done. I'm going to have movement already done. And boom, I'm full of energy. I can't, I'm like, let's get going. Let's go. Why didn't I do this last week? Why was I sleeping in?
I'm not going to lie. I was kind of surprised when you messaged me at 8 something this morning. Like, whoa.
Yeah. I'm ready to go.
Well, I want to say good morning to Ulrich, my good friend Ulrich. You say good morning to us from New Brunswick. My friend, I hope everything's okay out there. I know Fiona passed through. I've gotten some updates from you and everything's good. But good morning to you, Ulrich. Great to have you here. Happy to have you part of this. This is amazing. But you're right. It's interesting because when you get an idea, you run with it. That in itself gives you the energy you need to keep going forward. It's kind of crazy. Like it changes our lives, right? Like we don't even realize the impact that it has on us, but not just us, right? And here's the thing. It's not even just about us, but the people around us, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine what it does for your partner, for your spouse, for your kids, for your friends, for your family. Like imagine they see you become a model of what's possible for them. And it changes your environment, right? It changes the energy. One of the things, when I was working in teams in corporate, I go in every morning. I was one of those energy guys, right? Like, some people are like, you're that annoying energy guy that comes into the office, says good morning, and gives everybody a high five. Yeah, I am that guy, right?
That's right.
Right. So, the first couple of days, people were like, oh, man. So they would like turn away or go do some work or do something else. But by the end of the week, people were like, hey, where's my high five? I'm like, all right, cool, here we go. So it uplifts everybody around you too, right? So when you say yes, you have that energy. The energy is contagious. Christopher, he's writing in the chat or in the comments, his energy is up, 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 up. Decision is like, boom. I love it, Christopher. That's awesome. It's great what happened, even just sharing, right? And being a part of a community, being part of this group, it changes our day. It changes our day, our week, our month, our year, our life, right?
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to live a more inspiring, happy life? I know I do.
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And think about what steals your energy and what gives you energy, and do a little bit of what gives you energy before you go do something else that might not be energy activating for you. And, because we've all got that to-do list that still needs to get done. But if you do it with maximum energy, you'll be able to do it really, really good. So here's my invitation to all of us. Before you start your day, it's 9 o'clock. You're going to be on a call in a few minutes, possibly for work. Get up and dance, put your favorite song on. Just step outside of your deck or your backyard for like 30 seconds, look up at the sun and say, thank you, sun, for another amazing day. Have gratitude. These are just small little tips that you can do. And then of course get some movement in your day and put it in your calendar. Put it in your calendar. So simple. John, what are you going to do with all your energy that you have next?
Today's a workshop day for me. So I'm going out, I'm going to a client site, I'm delivering a workshop on DISC, if people are familiar with that, and just bringing the team together. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm afraid for them because they're going to look at me and say, who's this guy and why is he here, right? No, I'm really excited about that. Ulrich has a question. Unfortunately, Ulrich, we're going to save that question for the next call. But great question, because there are situations where we say yes. When you're around good people, it's good. But when you're around bad people, it creates a whole different thing. Because people might take that.
Friday with that question. So
we'll start
on Friday. Let's go deeper into that question. I think we'll spend the whole time just talking about what that looks like. Because yes, I have some opinions. I know you do too, John, about that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay, so good. So it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to wish everybody an awesome, terrific, special yes day. And take one thing today and just say yes to one thing that you've been putting off.
One thing.
Right?
Love it.
So I'm going to leave it with that. If you found this useful, I'm going to invite you to share this with somebody you feel might need it as well, because our goal is to impact as many people as we can. 5 at a minimum, and I think we have that. We've reached that limit already. But if we can impact 50, that would be even better. So if you could share this message with people, I would love that. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody an awesome day. Thank you, Heather. We'll see you Friday.
See you Friday. Bye, John. Bye everyone.